So, on today's Creative Confidence catch up, today I have this Steven Thompson. Would you like to tell us a bit about yourself, Steve?
Hey, Amy, do you know what? Thank you for having me on here. I'm excited to see what you do with this podcast. What do you think your viewers would or listeners would like to know about me?
I think we should start off with the idea of the black curtain. It's
No,
very mystical, but yes, I think they really enjoyed listening to
the
that.
idea of the black curtain. So, bit of context. My name's Steven Thompson. I'm a social media and personal branding agency owner. Started my investment or my business with zero investment and just a mobile phone, and everything I do is around video. But as you just said about the black curtain, I held off from making videos for about 18 months for myself, from a personal brand perspective, because I thought my backdrop was rubbish. And it was literally that black curtain just up there. So listeners won't be able to hear, but viewers will know where I'm pointing. And it literally was a black curtain. And that's all it was. And I was really self-conscious of it because I own a social media agency. I'm building personal brand. I should know what I'm doing. And it's funny because I did a training on it on something similar today in my in one of my Facebook groups. And it was, am I good enough to start a personal brand and where do I start? And the whole thing around imposter syndrome
Yeah, it's
kicked
horrible.
in and self-sabotage. And it was just the backdrop. And
Yeah,
now I teach people, don't worry about your backdrop, get outside and walk. The
yeah,
backdrop always changes. And we're in here today and I've got fancy blue lights and cameras behind me and this, that, and the other. But it's taken me years to get my head around how I'm going to have it.
yeah.
So
I get where you're coming from because, like myself, I'm in the Heartbrand Academy. Obviously,
yeah,
that's your thing, and I felt like throughout that experience, for me, the backdrop has always been an issue. But
yeah,
obviously, just recently, you have to start with that one thing, don't you? Start just making the video. Don't think about what's behind, and then as you go, it's those other small steps. And what do you say? That sort of like
that one.
idea of stop.
Do you know what? It's really funny because I've shared that what you're talking about
There you
now.
go.
I've shared that piece of content recently, and I've just turned that into an email for my marketing campaign. And it's very much, you've just got to start.
Mm.
It doesn't matter if it's good or if it's bad or if it's indifferent. You'll never make your 17th amazing video if you
Yeah,
don't make your first crappy one.
exactly.
And you've just got to press record. And we have, a thing. We have the Courage Before Confidence video program. So we teach people how to do this through effectively a daily diary. I call it Adrian Mole's diary gone digital, where you literally just pick up your phone, you point your camera at your face, and then you press record and you tell it how you feel. It might take 4 seconds to say I'm having a rubbish day. It
Mm.
might take 20 seconds to say this is a really good day today. You might waffle on for 15 minutes, but at least you get into the habit of making a video. And
Mm.
then as you get into that habit of just pressing record and sharing your thoughts, your insights, then what happens is you notice each day you do it that you're getting better.
Yeah, definitely.
And what you have got to say is worth sharing.
Hmm.
That's the key, is like, I actually have something worth sharing. And that's when people realize, when they've gone from, am I good enough, to self-sabotage and no one wants to listen to what I've got to say. When you start speaking it and you hear it yourself, that's when the penny drops.
Mm. It's that consistency then, I suppose, forms the clarity, and
Yeah,
then that forms the confidence, doesn't it, really?
100%.
Yeah.
You've absolutely nailed it in one sentence.
There you go. All the C's, as we always say.
All the C's. It's still the same with my program. Where are all these C's coming from?
So I think that this kind of feeds into the idea of like a community, tea with Steve,
Yeah.
and how would you class that community? Because obviously that's been a great thing. Well, I found in the pandemic.
Yeah. So Tea with, put that into context, Tea with Steve has just been rebranded and it's now called I Am a Personal Brand.
Mhm,
Because we wanted to make it more specific for a business outcome.
mhm,
But when it first started, it was called Tea with Steve. And I had a conversation with a lady who I think she did a TED talk and she wrote a book about I think it was self-awareness, and imposter syndrome came in there. He said, wouldn't it be great if we had a community where people like us could get together and support people like us? And that's where Tea with Steve version 1 was born. And I went, okay, I'll do it.
mhm.
And that was at a networking event in Norwich. And I said, okay, I can do that, but I'm going to have to do it online because where my comfort is. And that's where that's where I'm best placed. So we did it. We launched it. It ran for a couple of years. And then the pandemic hit and we had about 500 or 600 people in it then. The pandemic hit, and then it was shot up to about 850 people. And every day I was showing up in there, 11 o'clock, Monday to Friday, 11s with a cup of tea, sharing an insight into how people could move their business forward during the pandemic, building it online, and just answering people's questions. And then just letting some people just jumped on live with me, and we shared the screen and we talked about stuff. And I think it became a real community hub. I mean, I remember at one point we were all on a Zoom call off the back of it singing a song. Was it Shiny Happy People by George Ezra?
It was awesome.
We
Yeah.
were going to release a track, and it was just like, and then we realized that everyone was on different bandwidth. So we were all out of tune, all out of sync, and it sounded dreadful. But from a point of community and bringing people together, we had such a laugh. And we had people from all walks of life, small business owners, coaches and consultants. We had some CEOs of company on there. I remember a lady called Vida. She owns a company called Focus 7, and she's in her 50s and she's singing at the top of her voice and just laughing because we're all out of sync. But it was such a good thing to bring people together. And that's why when you look at like the Heartbrand Academy, you're our longest standing member. You've been on there nearly 3 years.
Woohoo, go me.
Absolutely. And you look at where you've come, but you've been a key member of the community. And the community is part of our whole business model. Because look at the pandemic, look at what people wanted and needed, and look at where micro communities are popping up now, these little pockets of communities to support one another. You think of like Alison, she's going crazy on TikTok, she's in the Heartbrand Academy, and she's brought 100 people into a private Facebook group. You've got Annika, who's in the Heartbrand Academy, and she's just brought on built a community for pregnant and expecting parents. You've got your creative community, and now we've gone from Tea with Steve version 1 to Tea with Steve version 2, which is a different community, different sort of process and model. So he's like, but there was confusion between 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So we rebranded Tea with Steve to I'm a Personal Brand, because it's specifically helping people with a personal brand or know they need one. And it is simply, if you think about it, it's kind of reputation on steroids. Everybody has a personal brand now. As soon as they start to speak something, they or they put anything into the public, whether it be online or offline, that's what people measure and judge them on. So we need to teach people how to get really comfortable with who they are, so they don't screw that up.
So I think this leads on to this next question, which is like, so in terms of creativity, what you were doing really, and throughout the pandemic, you were training people, to kind of help people and putting all those little bits of insight and stuff out there. And in a way, I suppose with that came clarity of what they were all about as they're speaking through video.
100%. It was literally to give them the reason we called it courage before confidence is literally to give people the courage to share who they are and press record. You don't need to put it out to the world. We coined a phrase when we started doing it. I said, like, you know what, record it and delete it. They're like, people are like, what? So just record it and delete it, and then just see how that makes you feel. It's like therapy. It's like, you're going, what? I can't afford counseling. I can't get onto the well-being scheme at my local GP surgery. There's a huge wait. I'm going to talk to this screen right here, and then I'm going to press delete. I'm going to get everything off my chest and just press delete. And it was that, giving people the courage to do that and the permission to do that. And then when they realized, okay, I'm getting through this process now, right, now do month 2 and see what that looks like. But change the emphasis, because you're going through your own journey. Now change the emphasis to help you with a business or your job or your YouTube channel or whatever it might be, getting your blog off the ground, being a creative, whatever it is, use it as a tool now to serve you. You've used it as a tool to serve you in a challenging time. Now use it as a tool to serve you in a positive time, or build a positive place. You can build anything you want online. You can build anything you want offline. I just find that it's a bit harder offline. When I'm talking to people, and I did a Facebook Live on it today about, being good enough and imposter syndrome and this, that, and the other. I say, when I mention to people that I'm an introvert, they don't believe me. They're like, but you're so this online, you're so that online. And I say, yeah, but if I look in here now, I'm in a dark room by myself. This room, apart from 2 spotlights here and these 2 blue lights behind me, it's black in here.
Yeah.
and I'm sat by myself. I feel so comfortable and cozy. It's like the Matrix. So I understand why people feel comfortable behind a screen and a camera and what have you, and actually can talk well to a camera because it's only them with their thoughts. The bravery comes from publishing it. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. I know it's a cliche, but it's only a cliche because it's true. And I just think more people need to lean into it and test it. If they don't like it, just press delete.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I felt like by going through this whole process, it's been like a self-discovery tool, really, to kind of dig deeper.
And that's what we did.
As to what I am, yeah.
And that's what we did during the pandemic to get that across to people. Say, look, here's permission. Go do it.
Mhm.
Share it if you want for some critique or feedback or whatever you want to call that. I said, but if you don't like it, delete it. Get rid of it. That's okay. It's good to do that. They're like, well, that's a waste of time. I said, why is it a waste of time finding out about yourself? Because without you as a personal brand business, there's no business.
Mm-hmm.
You may as well go get a job and see how much you're going to enjoy that.
Yeah.
I'm anti-job and I'm anti-school, but we'll get on to that today.
So as we come towards the end of this week's podcast, my last bit is words of encouragement, words of wisdom. Do you have anything particular?
I suppose. Right. Okay. If you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got.
That is so true. Definitely.
So, are you happy with what you've got, or do you aspire to be somewhere else or have something else? So, say you set goals, and the challenge that most people do when they set goals, they set the goal and then they look at the goal every day, and they don't build a plan to achieve the goal. So when we're in the Heart Brand Academy, we'll set our goals. You know, we work on the wheel system. It's like a pizza. Everything's around food, obviously. So we cut it into pizza slices. You know, health, wealth, relationships, your personal brand, your current business, things you want to achieve. And we put them into that pizza, and we measure ourselves where we are now. You know, score of 1 to 10, and then we measure ourselves where we want to be. So the pizza looks a bit jaggedy all over the place, but it's like, what are the priorities for you? Well, I want to get my health from a 4 to a 7. Okay. So now we know that we want to get health to a 7. Okay. And that's a goal. That's, you know, and that's a realistic goal. What does it look like? Okay. Well, I need to go to the gym. Okay. How many times a week do you need to go to the gym? Well, I think maybe 3 based on what I know and what I've learned, maybe on the internet, YouTube video, getting a PT. Okay. So now you have to reverse engineer that and have a plan and a system. James Clear, I think it's James Clear, he talks about it. Where's the book? Atomic Habits. And he basically says, goals are great, but you'll never reach your goal if you don't have a system to get to the goal. And you'll never have that system if you don't sit down and work out what the system is. You don't have to go looking for it. You could literally, and people might think I'm a little bit woo-woo when I say this, right? But if you've got a question, i.e., how do I get to that goal? Ask the question, right, to yourself, and then shut up and listen and wait for the answer. You will be given an answer. An answer will come into your brain. No matter how crazy you might think that sounds, okay, you always have the answer. The way you're going to get the answer is asking a decent question.
And yeah, if you don't have that, then you're not going to get anywhere, and you're not going to improve and grow, and you can't get to a place of being consistent, which is how you can then start showing the world what you're all about and stuff like that. But yeah,
ask questions.
Yeah, it's been, yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah, it's been so good to speak to you today, Steve. It's been hugely appreciated.
No, you're absolutely welcome. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.